Beautiful souls, welcome back. This is Follow Your Path channel. For those of you that have been here for a while, psyched that you're still tuning in. For those of you that are just getting here, I want you to know that if you are on the path of self-discovery, if you're here as a soul to realize the depth of who you are, and you're interested in taking that as far as you can go and living a life that is aligned with your dharma, you're in the right place, because this is what I've completely dedicated myself to. There's nothing else that I'm interested in, not only for myself, but helping other people in that same process. So many of us are going through just wild transition periods right now, including myself. It's like we get to get into this place of the recognition of the cycles that are going on. You're always going to be in some form of death and rebirth and integration process. And the more you can accept that and own it, things tend to be a lot more graceful. Things are more peaceful, and you're in flow with life instead of working against it. It's when we resist these things, that's where all the suffering is. So the title for today's video, and this has been something that's just been echoing through my head lately, is the only way out is through. There is no shortcuts. There's no going around it. You've got to put the target right on the thing that maybe has been messing you up for a long time. That's maybe been triggering you or keeping you in that comfort zone or in that place of smallness for a long time. That could be something as simple as sharing the truth. Sharing the truth of who you are with your closest friends, your family. It could be like putting your art out into the world. It could be following your path in the sense of it's all you, right? You're the boss of you. You're directing the show for you and not having anyone else do that. There's so many different expressions of this, right? The main thing is, this is the period right now, and it's not just us, life in general, God, source, that which you are intricately woven into and are a part of, is targeting the parts of us that are in any form of separation, that are in fear, lack, or limitation. Anything that is preventing us from receiving the good that's here from us, receiving what we're meant to receive, what our soul brought us here for that sense of fulfillment, for that sense of joy, for that sense of purposeness, and the journey of the soul, right? So many people are in stagnation and in resistance to that unconsciously, and looping and allowing fear to dictate everything. And I'll talk about this in the channel all the time. This is the time period of eradicating fear. This is what I mean by looking right at the thing. The only way out is through. Keep the light of your awareness on the thing until it dissolves. And that might look like you tracking yourself at a level that's very uncomfortable, that goes against all the habits and patterns that you have formed. And it also means that, and I said this a little bit earlier, we're at a point where if we're not accepting the game, right, that we are this soul, this divinity that's in form, using this as a costume to have this experience in physical reality, to evolve, to grow, to expand, to transmute, and all of the places that trigger us, all the places that have been the most challenging to overcome or to alchemize, that is our game. As the Kabbalists would say, that is our tikkun. That is our soul curriculum that is uniquely designed for each one of us, for just what we need and what we came here to explore. I know for me that some of these shadows I've unconsciously, until very recently, as I have dove in deeper than I ever have, I've realized that there's a part of me in very deep resistance to it and giving power away and being like, well, this thing's been here for so long, I don't know what else to do and I can't overcome it. I feel powerless to it. Which underneath that, as I said, I believe in my last video, is a shut down 12-year-old boy who hates the world and wants to disconnect from everything and doesn't want to participate. And just coming from a place of pain and disappointment. So everyone's got some version of that underneath the layers of the unconscious. And the only way to bring that up is to keep the awareness on the thing that's been messing you up. The places where you haven't been able to take action that you tell yourself week after week you're going to, and then you don't. Do you think that's just random? No, that shows you more than anything that in particular is something that your ego, that the false identity wants to do everything in its power to keep you from looking at. This is why tracking yourself is so important, because you're making things conscious and you're taking the reins back from being in the hypnotism, from being in the sleep state, the zombie state. It's so challenging to be present for people, A, because they haven't been practicing, and B, because that part of them does everything in its power to not allow that, right? Do the thing that's going to put you in the derp state. That's another part of this game that we get to accept is this nemesis, this part of us, whether you want to say it's Satan, whether you want to say it's your wounded ego, whatever the thing is, there's a piece of you that opposes your growth and opposes your expansion. And as I said before, it's either one step ahead or one step behind, but it's always right there. And it's a mechanism of this game that we get to accept, because if you don't accept it, you're always going to be fighting against it, and it's very clever. It's a frequency that knows you inside and out and knows where you've given your life force to, your fear, your power. It knows what can emotionally pull you. So if you're not alchemizing your triggers and you're not becoming more of an observer that's not reacting to these things anymore, you're very much a slave and being controlled by that thing. And it's not a form of maliciousness. It's a built-in mechanism to make you better, to help you grow, right? But most people are taking that and unconsciously going into victim and in that place of like, I don't want to have to deal with this. Like, oh my God, it's so hard. I've been doing this for so long. I'm tired. I'm sick of it. But they never actually saw it for what it was and maybe gave some gratitude or said like, I'm going to play the game. I'm going to play the game. This adversary is very good and it's uniquely built for me. It's like my own little personal teammate disguised as very much not a teammate, that if I'm not conscious, that part's going to take over, which is all the more reason to do whatever it is you need to do to stay awake, right? This is the game. We got to accept it. This is where we're at. This is what's happening, right? If you look out into the world, collectively, we are really losing to that part of us, right? And now, because we're becoming aware of these things that have been deeply unconscious, the tides are going to shift. That's why the Aquarian Age is here. We're going through this massive change of the story. All the props and all the characters and symbols and all the things from the Piscean Age are being swept off the stage, and all the Aquarian settings are starting to come online. And there's no mistake that you're here. You wanted to experience this transition, but it's easy to get caught in the waves of this transition. So I make a channel like this to, if there's fear coming up, if there's confusion, uncertainty, of course, right? But within that is the context and the excitement of like, wow, what's really going on here? This is incredible. I am alive during one of the most spectacular points on the planet that we've had in a long time. And that you're watching this because you're here to play a role in that. You're here to help us shift into this next phase. And we do it individually within ourselves, and then that manifests outwardly. And with enough people doing that, it's going to be very powerful. And we'll have a lot more grace. Things will not have to be so tense and so, I mean, it's going to be whatever it is that gets us over the hump, because if we face it, if we look at it, we're addicted to pain and struggle being our teacher. Like, only through the depths of going to the darkest places of hell do we actually start to make a shift. And that's just conditioning. Where I'm going is, and where I help people to go to, is no longer having pain be the teacher, but the joy and excitement of creating and embodying yourself and your new identity as the creator. It's not even new, it's just who you are. You're a creator, and you get to take the pain that comes in from that adversary, from Satan, from the ego, and you get to turn it into art. You express it in whatever way you're called to. In my world, it's when I speak this out, when I express it through making videos or making a podcast, or talking about these things, creating spaces for all of us to have conversations like this. That's my way of alchemizing that pain and turning it into something useful. So if you're watching this, you're probably very deep in that process. And can you, even when you're very triggered and the nervous system's flaring up and things feel very dense, can you maintain context? Can you maintain awareness and stay awake and present to be like, all right, I know what's happening here. I know what this is. That is empowerment, and that allows you to make an informed choice that overrides the conditioning and the pattern, right? The old frequency, that version of you is a pattern cemented over time, and your own amygdala has like a thermostat where when you start to, think differently and you start to act differently, it starts ringing the alarm bells. That's where you've got to be very powerful in your breath. Catch yourself when you're taking shallow breaths. You've got to be very powerful in the words that you're speaking. You've got to be very powerful in the choices that you're making, if they're aligned or not, right? You might need to do a serious audit of your day-to-day. And I can tell you this, when you do a serious one, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt because there's going to be guilt that comes up. You're going to see that you've been putting so much of your life off, and you've been putting actually very little towards the dreams you say that you want, but you're really not doing anything that would realize them. And there's a pain in that. There's like you want to beat yourself up. But that's exactly where the Satan, the old pattern, the old you, rules you from that guilt. And it keeps you in the same place where you don't have to expand and you don't have to open your heart to love again where you could be shattered. You can open up to receive joy where there might be more disappointment. You're opening yourself up to receive life. And that is something that is a major theme right now, is we suck at receiving. And we're learning to receive more light from the Creator, from life. What is our capacity to hold light? That is measured and increased every time you don't react. You don't get pulled emotionally by the old you, and you start to step into and own your sovereignty in the face of those things, right? You're not letting it pull you in whatever direction it's always pulled you. And when you start to do this, there's going to be movement in the outer reality. You're going to start to see things shift. You might have a day where it seems like everything's being thrown at you. And I want you to know, celebrate the shit out of that, because that is a beautiful sign that you're actually ready to go to that next level. You're actually ready to deal with these things that you've been running from. So much of this is operating in unconscious layers. That's why it's imperative that we stay present and awake and not go back to sleep and not be doom scrolling and not eating processed foods and breathing shallow and, just constantly in conflict and stress, right? If you're having money issues, you've got to be able to hold the energy of abundance despite appearances. And you have to say, this is who I am. This is who I choose to be. This does not tell me that any longer. That is a massive shift to make as a human being, and one that's worthy of high level attention. And when you do it, when you're serious about calling this in and going to that level, guess what? You're going to be faced with that. You're going to be maybe faced with a level of lack and scarcity and money things that used to freak you out, and it's all going to come to your doorstep, and it's going to say, okay, are you still operating in the old frequency, or who are you going to choose to be? Who are you aware of being in the face of these outer exterior things? And that is where the relationship with God kicks in, because we know that the Creator there is no lack or limitation. It's omniscient, it's omnipresent, it's everywhere all the time. It's electricity that we get to either plug into and utilize or not. And most of us are in fear, which means we've cut that electric connection off and we don't have that power. And that's why it feels so terrible to be in that place, because we're not getting that light. It's being cut off, right? Because now we've made fear God instead of the truth. We've made this illusion, this Wizard of Oz false God. We're giving our worship, our life, attention, and energy to that. And we sin, meaning we miss the mark, and then you suffer the consequences of missing the mark so that you can learn how this works. So many people, and I will very much include myself with this, we say we're done. We say we want to change. We say we're ready for the level up. And then it shows up and we shrink. Because our ego is like, oh, well, I didn't know it was going to look that way. Oh, I didn't know it was going to be devastating like that. And to the degree that it's devastating, like, that's how you know it's really ready to rock. The bubble's ready to burst. You're ready to get the thing. But so many times we just end up shrinking and running from it and letting that programming, that pattern, that adversary win. Because it's like, look, there's so many things that reinforce the old story that we've had. You have no evidence that anything's changing. If anything, it's getting worse. Look, right? And it uses the reasoning brain, and it pulls us out of infinite possibility, out of our power, out of our gnosis, out of our conviction and our truth. And it says, hey, well, God's left you hanging before. You've been abandoned because that's what happened when you were a child, when you didn't understand these things. And it's just going to happen again. That part doesn't realize that the only reason it happened the first time around, A, is because we chose for it to be that way. And B, is because we didn't have the context. We didn't have the awareness, the tools, any of that, right? So now we're getting the opportunity through these triggers to go back and give that context, be that space for those parts of us. And that is why reparenting has to be a mandatory tool in this time. It's got to be. If you're not doing that, you're operating in a very deficient place, for sure. So I know that I am massively cracked open right now. It's stunning at the level that it's happening, and I feel very grateful because I'm in this place of like, all right, we're letting it all the way in this time. I'm opening my heart fully to life in the same way that you would do for love, when you want that relationship, when you want that partner that you know you deserve and that you're worthy of. You've got to open up your heart to a level where you can be devastated. And if you're not willing to do that and you stay shut down because you're in fear and things that have happened before, well, you get more of that, right? So my intention, my prayer for anyone watching this is, as I said at the beginning of the video, the only way out is through. Look your thing right in the eyes and hold your gaze. Hold your ground. Hold your knowingness of who you are. Hold your conviction. Hold your trust. You know what's going on. You see the process. You have awareness of it. And when that adversary shows up to say, where's the evidence that anything's going to be better? You hold your gaze with love and compassion on that part of you, because that's part of your creation as well. It will be so quick to list every disappointment, every failure, everything that has ever gone wrong in your history. It will utilize your memory to say, hey, here's why you can't get your hopes up. Here's why it doesn't make sense to not go into protection and stay away from that. You could be destroyed by this, right? But the 12-year-old child, the adolescent that didn't have any of the tools or awareness, they were able to be destroyed by that, because their interpretation and belief of what was unfolding was what created the discord and the shadow and the wound in the first place. And now we are our own angels going back in time, because there is no time and everything's just happening here through the nervous system on the quantum level, as if we're whispering in the ear of that child. Energetically, we're in that space, we're holding that love and saying, hey, I saw the belief that you carried. Here's the truth. And that's being a good parent. That's being a good father. It's being a good guide to yourself. And a good mother too, because you're nurturing the part of you that's hurt. So if your adversary is a real bitch, it's because you're fucking powerful. And you're here to do some epic, epic stuff. And you're here to play a big role in this transition. So praise that adversary if it's really been throwing everything at you. It's because there's a bigness in you. And that bigger part of you, the real you, the true self, is using that to draw that out. And you know this. Somewhere deep inside of you knows it, what I'm saying right now. Get into that place. I'm never going to stop. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep my eyes on this, and I am going to love it. I'm going to pay attention to it, and I'm not going to let it slip until it dissolves. Like the clouds, like the fog in San Francisco that turns into a beautiful sunny day. That's what we're doing. That's going to change the world. It's going to heal everything within you that's kept you from realizing all the goodness that's here for you to receive. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. This is Follow Your Path. We all in this thing. It's going down. Free shrug. As always, peace within is peace with.